One forces through microneedling. It's like a little roller with these, some of you, I think many of you know it, and it pushes through the skin and ruptures the collagen and then boosts it. You look like a burn victim for a day, but then it pushes the
What are you pushing into the skin, Sarah? Sandra?
Sarah?
Carrie? What are you pushing into the skin?
Well, you push in whatever the facialist would like to insert into your pores.
But what is it?
It is an extraction from a piece of skin that came from a young person far, far away, and they somehow figured out how to extract.
It's foreskin from a Korean baby.
Hi guys, hope everybody's doing well. Hello. So, today's topic is gonna be about sex. Alright, the horizontal Watusi, okay? It's gonna be about sex. So, if sex is something you don't really like to talk about, I understand. I'm not going to be inappropriate. This video is not going to be, you know, any kind of shameful or scornful experience. Really, my younger subscribers that have been with me since I had another YouTube channel asked me to make a video about sex a while ago and how we're supposed to kind of use that energy and that action and what desire and sexual desire is for. And a lot of people get frustrated, they think it's bad, they're told it's terrible and horrible, and you know, they're very confused about it. They view pornography and suffer with that sin, and it's very difficult. I also, you know, struggled with the pornography problem when I was younger, because this country just turns you into whores, you know. And I want it to be said it's very important, the context to be set here. What I'm going to say to you today is what I would say to my daughter or my son. The context of this video, right? The vibe, the feeling of it is supposed to be relaxing and just, you know, nothing to be ashamed of. I really want you to realize nothing to be ashamed of, okay? The vibe of this video is, you know, this was a younger audience member that asked me this, and I was like, well, I'll have to think about it for a few months. And I did. I didn't want to give a careless answer, right? Because I didn't know the answer at the time when they said, well, what happens? You know, because I told them, we had this conversation. I've been having issues with my ex-husband for a while, you know. And one of the issues is we don't have sex. Not my plan, his. But that is one thing. And she's like, well, how this person that I talked to, she or he, they were like, well, how do you not sin if you don't have that part of your relationship with your husband, or now your ex-husband? How are you going to avoid sinning? And I think that there's this idea that permeates Christendom, right? It's in the Catholic Church, the Orthodox Church, the Protestant sphere. There's this idea that sexual desire itself is sinful, right? I'm not saying everybody in Christendom believes it, but it's a heavy vein of thought, right? It's a strong line of thought, right? That desire itself, sex itself, is a bad thing, and that's just not true, right? It can be bad, right? Like alcohol can be bad if abused, right? But it's not inherently bad. The alcohol is just sitting there, right? It's only bad if you abuse it. And it's the same with sexual desire. If you abuse it, it's bad, all right? But why do we feel this, okay? There's a lot of things I could say, right? But I'm just gonna introduce this idea to you in a different sort of way. Maybe people haven't talked to you about it in this manner before. And so this is going to be kind of a long video. It's going to be kind of rambly. You cannot script this kind of thing. This is a spiritual matter. There are a lot of aspects to Christianity that are verbal, right? There's a lot of theology that is purely verbal and passed down through the words, right? And that's what this is. And it's a very important concept that I think is lost to a lot of modern people, because we've been mistreated. And so I really want you guys to just take a deep breath, grab some snacks, turn on a video game, play this video in the background, and just kind of ponder what I'm going to tell you. Take it for what it is, and consider it. You know, I'm just gonna humbly lay these thoughts at your feet. I'm not trying to get you to do it. I'm not trying to get you to believe what I believe. I'm just telling you how I handle it, how I was taught to handle it, and I think I was taught relatively well how to handle and control that, and I don't think a lot of people are. I don't think a lot of people get the sex talk in the right way, right? They don't get, and you can kind of consider this a bit of an explanation, a bit of a sex talk, but not in the conventional sense, right? So, all right. First off, I'll say a little bit about myself. All right, I'm 32 years old. And I've read a lot of books. And what do I mean by that? Well, in my elementary school library, there were about close to 2,000 books. In the middle school library, there were close to 3,000 to 4,000. And in the high school library, there were about 7,000. That was the massive library where I grew up. And I didn't have the money to buy a higher education. And I dropped out in 11th grade because I was quite bored. But I read every single book in that school, and then I got bored and I left. And people are like, oh, you're boasting, blah, blah, blah. No, it's just a fact. I'm weird. I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder at a young age. It's part of some of my mental issues, right? But that is why I read every single book. I had this compulsion to complete it. You know what I mean? I'm one of those people, when I play a video game, I collect everything. I have, in Skyrim, I have a bathtub full of jewels for no reason. I find them and I'm like, oh, pretty, and I just dump it in a bathtub in my house. They're pretty. What can I say? But the reason I know that I read all of these books is because there was a comprehension quiz on every single book in the library. Our librarian was really good. She ran all three of the libraries, middle school, elementary, and high school. And she did a great job, and it was always fun and engaging to be in there, and she was always nice, and I could go in there and hide from the other kids that were jerks. It was great. Nobody's ever going to get mad at you for being in the library, right? And so I would do these comprehension quizzes after I would read the book, right? You read the book, you do the quiz to show that you read the book, and the quiz answers are all very simple, right? There's like 10, 20, if it's a long book, and it'll be something like, if you read Lord of the Rings, it'll be like, did Sauron die when Frodo threw the ring into the fire? And you have like multiple choice, you know, and you have to select yes, no, actually Gollum bit his finger off and jumped into the volcano. You know, you have to prove you read the book by selecting the right answer. And I read every single book. I've read all of the ancient Greek text. I've read a lot of stuff from the medieval ages. I'm fucking weird, okay? And so when you're hearing me talk about these things, just remember I'm not dumb, right? I'm not boasting, right? I'm a very knowledgeable person, and I've collected a lot of information over the years for the purpose of making our lives a little bit better. You know, knowledge is power, and I want you to have some power, you know? I want you to leave this conversation feeling like you have a synergy and a form of control, the tools to achieve what you desire over your baser desires. I want to give you a set of tools, right? I'm not just going to tell you, oh, this is wrong, this is bad, porn bad, you bad, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to do that. That's not what this is, right? I just want you to really know there's nothing wrong with sexual desire. We're told to feel guilty about it. It's used as a bludgeoning tool, as a method of control, right? And so I think the first thing is, what do we not do, right? And why do we not do it? All right? So pornography, obviously that's the most obvious thing. We should not view pornography. Well, why is that? It seems so benign, right? Your body has a very integral nervous system throughout, and through that nervous system there are electrical signals going through the whole body. And these, I think I mentioned this in a previous video, there's an energy field in your body they can measure with machines. It's in the nervous system. It's your consciousness, right? It's your soul. When you die, that energy field is gone. It's gone because that was you, right? The energy field is gone, your body's still here. Your soul is gone, your body's still here. Energy field equals soul, you know? And so your nervous system is very important, right? It can electrocute you. You ever get a little electric shock? Static electricity that's reacting to your nervous system. It's a sign of health if you get static shocks. Isn't that funny? It means your energy levels are high, right? And so your body expands and makes cells, right? And so in a man, the sperm is his source of stem cells. And stem cells are extremely important to your psychological development, your emotional development. It builds muscle, it builds brain mass, it builds bone density, right? And this is the same for women, right? The stem cells are located in your womb, okay? And you can expel them through masturbation and waste them, right? You can expel them into a woman's womb and create a child, or waste them, whatever, right? And what do I mean by waste? Why is it a waste, right? You might want to do research into semen retention, right? So when you, and this works for women as well, when you resist orgasming, right? The stem cells that are being produced in your womb, right, in the waters of life, right, disperse through your whole body. And your nervous system is the dispersal highway for these stem cells, right? And it's also the thing which creates the stem cells. These stem cells don't come from nowhere, right? And sometimes they don't just come from themselves. Your body can produce brand new stem cells every 7 years, right? All the old cells in your body are gone and the new cells are there. Where did those new cells come from, right? If it was only ever old cells reproducing and falling out, it wouldn't work, right? Something comes from something. You can't have something from nothing, right? So your stem cells come from your sexual organs, right? And if you can resist, I guess some people call it spilling the cup of Hermes, but if you can resist climaxing and manage your desire in a healthy way, you can disperse these stem cells through your whole body. They'll go up your spinal column into your brain, and your brain will increase in density and mass. Your bone around your brain will get stronger. The bones in your back will get stronger. The bones in your fingers will repair. This is an automatic process. It's natural, right? You don't think about breathing. I feel like the music got loud. All right, well, sorry about that. I turned the music down, and then my family asked me to check the food in the oven. All right, so where was I? Oh yeah, so stem cells, right? Celebrities take stem cells from, how do you say, from young people and their sexual organs from children, basically. Sandra Bullock actually talked about this on the Ellen DeGeneres show, if you want to see what a penis blood facial is. But basically, they take the blood from a child's penis, and they spin it in a little machine, and they separate the stem cells out of it, okay? And they take a little roller with microneedles, and they roll it all over Sandra Bullock's face, and she gets a penis facial. But what does that do? It's infusing your skin with stem cells. It's a vampiric version of the natural way of building your body and your health up. And this is something that has been taught in my family for hundreds of years. Don't get it twisted. This is not just something I found in a book. I'm not a moron, okay? I'm not boasting about my intellect. It just is what it is, right? If you're a lion, you're a lion, right? And I'm the fucking captain. Like, that's how it is. I know who I am. I know what I want in this world. And I'm very quickly learning how to get it, right? And so part of that process has been learning to control my sexual desires and understand that what I was taught when I was younger was a good thing, right? Transmuting your sexual energy toward creative activities is intensely important, and I can teach you how to do that in this talk right now, okay? And it's very simple, because the process is wholly organic, it's natural, it's painless, it does not involve licentious or inappropriate thoughts about women or men. There's no element to this tactic that involves a fornicating sin, and that's the most important thing to remember, right? So a lot of people go through kind of a process of, we get caught in these cycles of self-abuse, and what do I mean by that, right? Sex is a powerful tool of control in our society, and some people get so fucked up by it, right? They get so out of sorts because of it that they start to treat and this happens to men and women, right? They start to treat the opposite gender like an object, like it's got value, they can buy and sell people. It breaks down everything, right? When it's abused. And so most of us were exposed to pornography at very young ages, right? Either the technocrats allowed it to just run rampant on social media, and we ran across it. It was sent to us in an email, like we were exposed to it. You know, you saw a woman in her underwear in a fashion magazine, in a grocery store. We're all exposed to pornography at some point, you know. Women in string bikinis at the beach, you know, that's a form of it. Anything licentious is pornographic in a way, right? It's in the realm of fornication, and there's nothing, and it confuses people, right? Because it's like a duality. It's like, well, I see all these sexual things, therefore my desire is bad. And it's like, no, not really. Like, it is bad to look at those things and let yourself be corrupted by them, right? But you're corrupted by what comes out of you, right? Everybody's gonna look. It just happens. It happens, right? You turn away, you know, you try. That's all that really matters. You try. But the process of abuse, using sex as a control mechanism, right? It's like a circle of abuse, all right? It's like a circle. And I'm gonna get a piece of paper. This is just too complicated not to draw. So, all right. Right, most things, especially in the abuse world, can be conceptualized as a circle. There's my retarded circle, right? Like a wheel, you know, and the wheel has some spokes, okay? The wheel has some spokes. All right, so most of us exposed as children to pornography, right? What does that do? It makes you activate, right? It makes you become sexually active way too early. So it activates you way before your time, before you're ready to even know what that is, okay? And so this is like prepubescent prepubescent children are being exposed to pornography, right? On average, children as young as 7 or 8 run across an image like that now in our country. And that's common. That's common. And so basically, this child, when they want to orgasm, goes to the videos again, right? So I'm just going to dispense with this. But basically, it's a process, right? You learn to satisfy this urge before you are supposed to have the urge. And like I said, you can't write this shit down. It's too organic. It has too much flow to it. Should have known that. But it's like a cycle of abuse, right? And girls do it too, boys do it too. I'm talking about both genders in this video. This is a universal feeling. We feel it differently, but we still feel it, right? When they get that sexual urge, they go and they watch a video and they satisfy it and then it's over. But that causes exhaustion. It affects their muscle development. It affects their height. It affects their bone and brain health, right? Because if you're always expelling your stem cells as a child, right? As a child, you have stem cells through your whole body. That's why Sandra Bullock does the penis facial from the stem cells of a child, a 9-year-old. She's not getting stem cells from an adult for a reason, right? They want to sexualize children and make them expend their stem cells through orgasming for a reason. It's a method of control. If your brain does not develop properly, right? If it's smaller than it's supposed to be, your IQ will lower, right? If your bones are too porous and thin or not as dense as they normally would be if you were healthy and natural, right? You're not going to live as long, you know? So this is why athletes practice semen retention. You could research a little bit about this yourself. A lot of people know bits and pieces, right, of what you can do, but they don't know the whole picture. I'm going to try and paint the whole picture, and it's going to be a bit of a rambly video because this is a rambly topic. It's very organic, and so and I really hope that, you know, you guys don't feel bad right now. No reason to feel bad. Like I said, I struggled with pornography myself. I get it. It's not an addiction, but it is a fucking desire, isn't it? It is. And what do you do with that desire? Like, that was one thing people asked me. Well, now that you're not married, what will you do? And what will you do about it? What will you do? You got to do something. Oh, it's such a powerful urge. You have needs. Oh, do something. And the truth is, right, and this is going to sound kind of weird, but the answer is to do nothing, right? If you are racked with sexual desire, don't go seek a picture of a woman, right? Which pornography itself is a humiliation ritual, right? It's a cycle of abuse. It's a form of cuckoldry. You're watching someone you are sexually attracted to get banged by another person. That is classic cuckoldry. So it's a humiliation ritual. You see what I'm saying? And so it instills shame for a reason, because it's not supposed to be. You're not supposed to want to see the woman or man you desire get taken by another. You're supposed to want a person with you. Remember what Jesus Christ said, one man, one woman forever, right? And so how do you handle it, right? And it hits you like an electrical shock. You know, it feels hot. Oftentimes when you're aroused, you'll feel heat at certain points in your body, right? Those are points of energy, right? And if you feel that desire inflame, stop. Don't just be the child and go, oh, I've got to look up pornography. Satisfaction. Don't do that, right? Because afterward you have clarity, you feel ashamed, you feel like I did something wrong, I don't really know what it was, I didn't hurt anybody, but you kind of did. You hurt yourself. You really did actually injure your body's physical development, which affects your mind, the size of your brain, and thus your spiritual development. This is why people who are really sexually degenerate, and you'll meet these kinds of people who have been having sex, been assaulted since they were very young, and having sex through their teens and into adulthood, they're absolutely fucking bonkers. And it's not really their fault. They're under a form of trauma-based sexual mind control, right? And you can get free of this, but it's very fucking hard. And most people lack the tools. And I'm hoping that this video will give you some tools. And, you know, I've got to change this music. It is fudging with my vibe here. Like, I just need to turn my spa playlist on. That's a mood today. Spa playlist time. There we go. It's much better. Much better. So, it's intensely important that you remember you do not always have to do it or do anything. Sometimes you just sit down. And I know a lot of Christians associate meditation with New Age. That's not really true. Early Christians, before the purging and murder of non-Catholics. I mean, I love my Catholic friends, right? The person who requested this video is a Catholic. Don't get me wrong, okay? The church, not you guys are epic. The church killed a lot of people that practice this kind of thing. Because it was just too easy. People who gain control over their sexual urges, who rein it in. You know, the Catholic Church used to own brothels, right? A lot of churches, the old churches, they've been around a long time, and any institution built by mankind, it's going to be prone to corruption here and there. It just happens, right? It happens to Protestants, it happens to secular schools. Like I said, there's nothing to be ashamed of here, right? The intent of this video is not for you to feel guilty, right? It just is. It just is what I believe to be the truth, right? Based on the evidence, based on what I've read. A lot of this knowledge is lost on Protestants, it's lost on Catholics and Orthodox. But there are ways to have sex with your spouse without ever climaxing. And it's just as satisfying as orgasming. And people look at me like I'm crazy when I say that, because they've never had that experience since childhood. They have been caught in this trauma-based sexual arrangement of control, and it's wrong. It's wrong, and you know it's wrong on some level. You just don't quite know why, and you want to do the right thing, but what can you do? Where are your tools, right? You want something to hold on to, right? Something that you can use to make you feel like you have some power over your desire. And the first thing that you need to understand about sexual desire is you have no power over it. It is a natural thing, right? You don't think about breathing. You don't think about being horny, and a lot of people feel this way. They don't want to be horny because they're so tired of their sex being used to control them. They're tired of watching pornography because it hurts them. They just don't know exactly why it's hurting necessarily, but it causes a lot of issues. It also causes a lot of hormone imbalance in men, and women as well, right? Because you're giving up a piece of your body that actually builds your flesh, right? The reason pregnant women have thicker hair, better nails, is because their body is full of stem cells. The pregnancy itself is a stem cell factory. That's why fetuses are sold for billions of dollars. They collect stem cells to sell for Sandra Bullock facials, right? The stem cells in your body are the blocks that build your flesh and bone, okay? And it is closely tied to sexual desire because that is the gateway, right, to the divine. That is a divine act. It is a miracle. Every birth, right, every child, every pregnancy is an act of God. It's a miraculous blessing upon the earth, right? Because it's mathematically insane. The amount of, millions of sperm, right? And one guy gets in. I could explain that a little better, but it's this divine connection, right, to God, right? And the child's soul is part of God. It's a child of God, and it is also a piece of you and your flesh and your soul and your personality. That's why children and families have a lot in common. You've all come from the same flesh, right? And that's a good thing. is beautiful. And so this is why it's so important for them, the elites, to weaken you. And this is a method for weakening you. If they can control your body's physical development, they can control your mind, what you eat, what you think, what you say, right? What you fuck. That's what this is all about. It's all about control and retaking your sovereignty, knowing yourself, what you want, why do you want it. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know what you want and you're tired all the time and you're depressed, I feel you there. I've been there. I'm here somewhat right now. I'm feeling better today, but you know, it happens. Depression happens. But I tell you, when I learned to control my sexual desires, my depression was lessened a lot. It helps a lot. And the stem cells dispersing through your entire body, right? You will feel horny. That's normal. That is what that is. The arousal you feel is the stem cells being produced. All right? And it's normal and it's natural. There's nothing bad about it. A lot of early Christians, right, would pray standing up with their hands up out in the air, you know? And they would close their eyes and they would pray, or they would sit cross-legged and they would pray and they would meditate on the feeling, right? Sometimes you feel horny without any visual stimulation at all. It happens. And a lot of Christians would meditate on that feeling, right? And they would feel it flow through them and they would just let it happen, right? And so when people ask me, what are you going to do when the urge comes? It's like, I'm just going to let it happen. Right? This is the useful tool I'm giving you, right? Instead of giving in to the trauma-based conditioning, right? The trauma of seeing nudity and sex before you were ready, right? Instead of giving in to the trauma, instead of giving in to the lasciviousness and going to the computer and looking up pictures of nude people, right? I'm talking to girls and guys. This is not a gender-specific video. This applies to both genders because it is a concordant, harmonious act, right? Sexual desire is a harmonious thing. You know what I'm saying? And so when you get to that point where you can not go to the computer and look it up, that is a really good place to be. But what do you do next? Sit still, close your eyes, put your hands out, and just start meditating. Just focus. And it sounds like new agey bullshit, but just calm your soul down, right? This is what early Christians did. They would calm their soul down. Deep breath. Get rid of the emotion, kind of put yourself into a blank state of mind and just focus on that feeling. Not the ideas, don't think about a woman, don't think about a man, just focus on the feeling itself, the feeling in you. That's an integral part of your being. It's knitted into your flesh, into your soul, into your spirit. You have to accept it. It's okay. You need to always remind yourself it's okay to be horny. It's normal. Its desire is normal. Very important. Yeah, it's extremely important that you leave this video understanding there's nothing wrong with you. Your biological instincts are being hijacked by a predatory system. Our society is very predatory. It is. And there's nothing wrong with how you're feeling. How you're feeling is valid. Desire is a feeling. You feel it, right? Your body heats up, literally, because cells are expanding. Cells are being created from the nervous system electrical energy, and you feel heat, like a real actual, you can put your hand down there and feel heat. Why? We've never thought about why, but there's a reason, right? It's a real energy production. And if you're going to notice a couple of things once you stop the act of climaxing. And it's not going to happen immediately. Some things will. Within a month, you'll start to feel better in general. You'll get less head colds, you'll get less sniffles, because the natural balance in your body is a bit restored. And your body is in a reparation process. And it's important to be still. Sit down. Meditate. You know, don't empty your mind. Calm your mind. Never empty your mind. That's dumb. That's new agey bullshit. Why would you never empty your mind, right? Don't do that. You'll go insane. That's not what humans are meant to do. We are active creatures, and we're always active. Even when we sleep, we're thinking about the dream we're in, okay? We're never not awake. We're conscious, awake beings. Never empty your mind. Instead, calm your emotions, right? When you get desire, you get frustrated. You feel like you lack control. Maybe you do, and that's fine. It's okay. It's difficult, right? This is a difficult sin. This is the sin that very few nations can ever recover from, right? This is what killed Rome. I mean, cut yourself some slack. Forgive yourself. If you can't forgive yourself, you will not be able to forgive other people, right? You'll be a wounded healer. The wounded healer, what does he do? He gets a fucking mortal wound in his side, and he goes to heal someone and purges out and dies next to them. Like, that's what a healing hero is. Fix your own temple. Don't worry about other people, right? Worry about yourself, the self. Who are you? What do you want? Why do you want it? Maybe you don't know what that is. Part of this will help you, right? Your brain can be foggy a lot. You can just lack direction. You can feel depressed. It's all an effect of pornography. Pornography is not necessarily the only problem. Men and women who have lots and lots of sex, they also have this problem, right? Because we're not meant to be with multiple partners. We're meant to be with one single person. Like Jesus said, one man, one woman, forever. And divorce is only granted for the hardness of men's hearts. And so, what I'm saying, right, is let it happen. Let the feeling happen. It's not going to last all day, right? You're not going to be horny for 5 days straight. That's physically impossible, okay? A lot of people who masturbate, they get erectile dysfunction. Women get lowered sexual drive. People who orgasm all the time, they grow older faster, okay? And I know this is true because people in my family stay young for an abnormally long amount of time, and we always have, and that's because we practice control over this one thing, right? And it's like, as soon as people stopped doing that in my family, that's when everything went off the wheels. Like I told you, my parents died when they were in their 50s. And my father fell off the wheels. He told me this. He said, this is a curse. Like, he told me that sexual desire is like a curse. And I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. It can be if you abuse it, right? But even he experienced this effect and warned me against it. You can shorten your life drastically by being sexually degenerate, right? He was sexually degenerate. He got on drugs because he had a girlfriend that he was sexually degenerate with. And then from there, boom, 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 boom. But it all started because that girl was really pretty and she was really easy. My dad wanted to bang her. It always starts with the abuse of sexual desire, and then your life is ruined. One hand washes the other, right? People who lack control in sexuality, like the woman my father met, they bring in bad things. They lack control in other areas, and they spread that lack of control to you. Like she did with my father. He got addicted to drugs at a young age, right? 15 years old. And he was abused by an older woman, And so that's all I'm saying. The answer to your question is, and the question was, what are you going to do now that you can't, access a man for that? And the answer is, I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to sit down and meditate like I always have. And I'm going to let it happen, like breathing, or my kidney working, or my stomach, after I eat, my stomach processing the food, I'm just going to let it happen. Let it happen. You've been fooled into thinking you have to do something about that desire. You don't. You can just let it happen. Focus on the feeling itself. Don't think about anything sexual. Empty your mind of emotions, right? And just let it happen, because that feeling you're feeling is the stem cells going throughout your entire body. And you do not want those stem cells to be expelled and wasted, because it will damage your body. This is a natural, normal process. You have nothing to feel guilty about. And to be honest, it's one of the biggest sources of our spiritual force and power. A man or woman who is focused, oh, they get a lot done. They get a lot done. That's why they want you to watch pornography. The elites, the people in charge, the controllers, they want you to do what they say. That's why they catch you when you're young. They catch you when you're young, because it's harder to get someone with a developed, healthy mind who knows self-control already. It's harder to get them to become evil. Not impossible, right? But it's easier if you start them young. So there's the answer to your question. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, this is a practice that has been going on for thousands of years. It's something the early Hebrews and Jews did. Early Christians did it as well. They were later murdered by systems and churches that wanted to establish a more militaristic version of Christianity. They were killed, and they're still around. People like us are still around. But this is a natural, healthy way to handle that sexual desire that is totally normal and totally fine. And you're not always going to be perfect, guys. Don't try to be perfect. It's not going to work, right? Just try, right? Whenever somebody comes to me and they're like, oh, I'm so depressed, I don't want to do anything, I'm so tired, I don't want to do nothing, I always tell them, listen, you don't have to do it well, right? You don't want to wash the dishes, I get you. Wash one bowl, right? It's better to do a job poorly than not at all, right? And this is kind of similar with sex and sexual desire. It's never going to be perfect. We make mistakes. We fuck up, right? Especially when we're alone and we haven't been taught how to control it. You may be one of these people that does not have the tools in your hands, the knowledge in your head to control this, right? And sexual desire is like an all-consuming fire. You have to control a fire. You can't let a fire get out of control. It'll burn everything, right? But fire is good. It keeps you warm. It keeps your children safe. It keeps the predators at bay, So just keep these suggestions in mind. This is an old practice, right? You sit down, you feel the sensation, you feel the energy flow through your whole body, and you do nothing, right? What you do is nothing, and it's the hardest thing to do sometimes because you have been trained since you were younger, and you need to forgive yourself, right? You were a child, you were a teenager. It's not your fault, okay? Really, really take it in. You are not guilty. Sex is not bad. You are not bad. You have been abused, and it was wrong, right? And you're going forward, right? You're going forward. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but you still made it 1 step forward, right? So just don't get discouraged. Just keep remembering you have to stay calm, right? There's an excitement and an emotional charge that comes with sexual desire and being aroused. And what you do is you just sit down, calm your nerves, calm your emotions. Very important skill to learn. And take a moment. Sit down for an hour. Sit down for 7 hours. Some people I know have stood for 11 hours because that's how long they felt it. especially in the beginning when they were very first resisting it. Because your body wants to get back to normal. It wants to get back to, it's excited. It's like, oh my God, stem cells. Holy shit. Oh, your hands, your joints might be hurting. Like, you maybe have problems in your joints. Your whole body is soaking it up like a sponge. It's happy. It's like, oh yes, finally, what we need to build muscle, what we need to grow your brain, what we need to establish the divine connection with God. Oh, this is great. Your body is just celebrating, right? But you experience like, oh God, I'm so horny. Why? Like, it wears off. The initial excitement of your body, once you are practicing semen retention or practicing resisting sexual urge, and remember, this is advice for both men and women. This is something you can do as a married couple, together, or alone on your own. It's harmless, it's without sin. It is a practice of resisting sin and redirecting a natural, normal, biological process. This is integral and important for you to understand. There's nothing wrong with how you're feeling. How you feel is valid, it is important, and it is a keystone in every civilization. That is why every government and every religion tries to control sex. That is your sovereignty, right? So I hope this helps you. Try this for a year. See where you're at after a year of this practice. And you'll feel the energy going through and coursing through your whole body. Your whole body may heat up sometimes, right? I remember I had broken my foot and I had a fracture that just kept refracturing because I have porous bones. My mother tried to abort me. I have porous bones. And this practice helped to make my bones a bit denser and repair some damage. I also get less fevers. And this is my normal state of being now. I don't need to expel my sexual energy anymore, right? And don't get it twisted. This is not easy for a woman or a man. Like, both men and women are having issues with sexual problems, sexual promiscuity, right? Men have an issue with getting laid. They go to pornography. Women have no problem getting laid. They just pick whoever they want. It's the same problem, though. You're deadening your nerves. You're expelling your sexual energy with multiple partners, splitting that electrical energy up between multiple people and weakening yourself, confusing them. You know, there is a kind of knowledge, like a gnosis, when you unify with a sexual partner, right? It's like an unspoken language that's energetic and electrical. And it's in the Bible, when they say he went into his wife and knew her, right? There's more going on there than just sex, right? He's not saying knew her as in he came and a baby was made. No, sometimes that's in context with a baby never being created. It's a different way of viewing sex, a different way of seeing it, of experiencing it. And a lot of us have been robbed of this, I would call it a right. You have a right to know how to use your body in a healthy way, in a natural way, in a way where you don't feel bad, where you don't feel guilty, right? You should never feel guilty about what you feel. What you feel is valid, right? It's important. You still have to handle it in a healthy way, but it's extremely important that you recognize there's nothing wrong with you. There's just something wrong with the way you've been taught, the way you've been trained. You haven't been given the right tools, and I hope that this gives you a tool that will help you. This is a very early Christian belief, and still to this day some Christians practice it. It's not popular because the majority of Catholic, Orthodox, and Protestant men view pornography to such a high degree, like ridiculously high, that it blocks them from this concept of sex without orgasm, sex without that emission. There's a way to have sexual intercourse, right? Get full satisfaction without ever climaxing. And the only way to figure out how to do this is to use the technique I've just told you, basically. But people like this, right? They tend to have, couples like this have fewer children. When they do have children, they have enough wealth to take care of the child, right? Because they aren't coming and going, oh, whoops, surprise, a child we didn't want. Why, fuck you. Like, they're not doing that. This is a method for controlling your life upon so many layers, right? The elites want you to despise your children. They want you to hate the life you have, and at the same time be weakened, right? They want you to have no control. This is a method of control, accepting that this desire is normal and natural and okay, and that it doesn't exactly need to be controlled is the best way, right? You don't have to strain it, it doesn't have to hurt necessarily to resist, okay? And I hope this helps you. This is, and I want to reiterate, this is what I do, okay? I am not ever going to tell you to do something. I will never give you advice, right? And give you advice I don't personally do now. Like, if I tell you hike up a mountain every day for a year, I do that too, right? If I tell you don't watch pornography, I don't watch it either. If I tell you, hey, it's not a good idea to eat flour, I don't eat flour either. You know what I mean? I do eat flour though. Like, fucking bread is amazing. Side note, anyway. But yeah, like, this is something I do in my life. I practice this sort of transmutation of energy. And I always have since a really early age. And I'll tell you, it unlocks a wheelhouse of knowledge in your mind. And you get a direct connection to a divine force that helps you see things more clearly. If you do this for a year, you know, do it for a year and just give it a try, right? Try it. Do it for 6 months and see what happens to your mind, right? It's not just about resisting pornography. It's the act of orgasm itself that can be detrimental when abused, you know? And this is something that it builds you, right? A woman who has thin bones, poor muscle mass, right? Porous bones, you know what I mean? Her child will also be born small, okay? And so if women don't resist this urge to climax, you know, it affects the development of your family and in the long term, you know. Taller children, stronger children, more confident children are very important, you know, and like I said, everything I've said in this video, every single thing, it's what I would tell my daughter. It's what I was taught. It applies to both men and women, and it will actually help you with your psychological and your physical problems. And I hope you try it. Be open-minded, all right? Be open-minded. That's all I'm saying. I guess this was another unscripted video. I try not to do these too often, but I do kind of enjoy them, so maybe I'll just do it when it feels right. But I hope this helps you. I don't know. I hope it helps. It helped me a lot. It helped me a lot. It gave me a wheelhouse of power in my mind to utilize. And it's just intensely useful. It's intensely useful. That energy is power. You know, that's why these weird elites like Sandra Bullock, they keep how do you say, stealing stem cells from children, taking stem cells from children, you know? And you can go look that clip up, but I could also just put the clip at the beginning of the video. Since I've been referencing that clip, I think I will. But yeah, guys, I hope I've given you a tool to use so you can feel a little better, feel a bit more powerful, take control of your life. You know, I want you to leave these videos feeling like you have something useful, that you've got something in your hand that's useful. You know what I mean? Like a useful tool. I wanna give you a little light to bear, okay? You are more powerful than you think. It's very important that you consider this deeply, you know, and really think about these things. It's going to activate your mind in ways that are hard for me to articulate. And it's hard to write all this in a book because this subject is organic. It's the nature of sex. It's the nature of desire. It's not meant to be quantifiable, written down. It's not meant to be written in a book. And I've read a lot of fucking books, as I said earlier. I'm not boasting. But this is not something you can find in a book. Because it's a feeling, it's an instinct, it's a lesson you're taught verbally from family and culture, and it's one of those unseen things, right? That once you figure it out and you do it, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Why didn't I know that? It seems so obvious. Why didn't I know this before? You didn't know it before because no one gave you the tools. Here's a tool. You know, here's a pair of scissors. Go cut the veil, you know? Cut the veil and see clearly. Here's your tool to cut through the veil, right? To get what you need. And I hope that helps you. I hope you actually try it. Because it will really, really benefit you. And you know why I care about you guys and you people. And I've got Catholic friends and Protestant friends and atheist friends and pagan friends. And, you know, this is something all of you can do. It's a healthy practice without sin, and it's a way to resist sin. It's a method, a tool to use to center your mind, you know, a way to dispense of that fake guilt that isn't your own, that was just put upon you, you know. So anyway, I hope you got something from this, you guys. Stay well.